You are watching K-Rights TV, where the truth continues.
Okay, good late afternoon. Thank you for being here. I just wanted to give you folks a briefing on, in terms of what our activities were last night as this situation unfolded in the area of 43rd and Hour, Sherman Boulevard, this 43rd Street. And a little bit of a briefing moving forward into tonight. I'm going to start with a timeline. Well, actually, what I'll do is I'll start by saying this, because there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, in terms of what causes these situations. The police use of force serves as an igniter, there's no doubt, but to an already volatile situation, a volatile mix of urban pathologies, failed urban policy that exacerbates inescapable poverty, failing public schools, inadequate parenting, father-absent homes. We all know when fathers are not around to shape the behavior of young boys, they oftentimes grow up to be unmanageable misfits that the police have to deal with in an aggressive fashion. Pathologies like lifestyle choices, questionable lifestyle choices, gang involvement, drug and alcohol abuse, as well as massive unemployment. Those are the ingredients. Those are the things that cause resentment, anger, and frustration to boil beneath the surface, and then all of a sudden a police situation comes along, and that's why I said it's an igniter, but it's an igniter to an already festering situation. So, you know, this whole last couple of years, coming out of Ferguson, there's been a lot of focus on police and police use of force, and that's fine by me. All right, we get our consent from, our authority from the consent of the government. If something's bothering them, we should have discussions about it. But this thing has been hijacked for a political construct now. I mentioned that 2 years ago. If you want to go back and look at some of the tapes, I said this was a political construct, this whole war on police. And that, in fact, was a war on police that mirrored what had gone on in the 1960s. Same thing, same model, same subversive groups involved, with different names now, different generation, of course, as all those folks from the Students for a Democratic Society got old, and they're probably senior citizens now and a little tired for this, or tired of it. So I was acutely aware of what was going on and exposed it as such. So we get into what happened last night. You all received a briefing from the Milwaukee Police Department this afternoon. Squads made a traffic stop. Occupants got out of the car and confronted the police. At least one was armed. They may both have been armed, but I'm aware that one was armed. And an officer used force, fearing that his life was in danger, and it's an ongoing investigation, and that'll sort itself out as time moves forward. And then late last night, some of the residual effect of the thing that I opened up talking about, the anger, the resentment, the frustration in people boiled over, and we had an untenable situation in Milwaukee. I've made it clear as it related to the riots of Ferguson and of Baltimore that people have to find a more socially acceptable way to deal with their frustration, their anger, and their resentment. Right? This is an orderly society. We have processes, we have institutions with which to deal with these things. And as frustrating as it can be, sometimes it takes a long time to work through the institutions and the processes that we have. It's still what we have to do, because we cannot have the social upheaval, the chaos that we saw last night that frightens good law-abiding people in those neighborhoods. It destroyed businesses where people work, some probably as a means to support their family, and they're going to have to deal with that. But I made it clear this afternoon in some discussions that I have, the goal moving forward is that we cannot have a repeat. I didn't say we wouldn't. I said we cannot have a repeat of what happened last night. Some additional forces have been mobilized and put together. A plan is in place. That plan is fluid. It involves a lot of my resources. I made a call up of all of our personnel this morning to be on standby. They're actually mobilized. You cannot wait too long, as they found out in Ferguson when the mayor put out the call to the governor, and those additional resources never showed up, or showed up late. In Baltimore, the call was never made. I have an obligation, folks, under the state statutes. I also have an obligation under the oath that I took to preserve and protect life and property. All right, that's job one. And to the extent that I have that responsibility, I have to have resources, and I have to make sure that the people that I put in harm's way, like I did last night, like I'll do when these situations arise, that they have the resources necessary to complete the mission. All right, what's the mission? Job one, preservation of life and property. It's a pretty clear mission. So you apply your resources to do that, and you go back, you reassess, hopefully a minimal amount of damage, minimal life or injury, I should say, to life, and hopefully, so far it's been the case after last night, other than the officer use of force, nobody else killed. But I think it's important to point out as well, because we tend to gloss over this stuff. We keep focusing on the police. And I've said publicly before, stop trying to fix the police, fix the ghetto. And I talked about those urban pathologies that have to be addressed to shrink the size of the underclass. We have the growth of an underclass here in Milwaukee. You saw some of their behaviors on display last night. So you shrink the size of the underclass. How do you do that? You reduce poverty. You fix the schools. You put people back to work, meaningful work. You hold people accountable for effective parenting and some of those lifestyle choices, which sometimes means if they're going to go out and engage in certain behaviors that society says we're not going to put up with, then there have to be sanctions, and that's where the criminal justice system comes in. That's where the prosecutor's office comes in. And I look around, just about everybody in this room has heard me over the last 5 years, minimum, talking about the role of the criminal justice system, the prosecutor's office, the sentencing practices in this area in Milwaukee County. And I don't know, I guess people didn't think it played a big role, but we're seeing it now. Not just last night, but we're seeing it time and time again. When some individual goes out and does something heinous, we look and they have a long, lengthy criminal history that nobody applied any sanctions to, or any meaningful sanctions, let's put it that way. Maybe some sanctions, slap on the wrist as a sanction, but that's not meaningful. So as I look at the two individuals involved in the traffic stop last night, I have their criminal histories in front of me. We will provide their booking photos later on. Fran will put that out. But as I look, the individual who lost his life, $13 arrests, some serious stuff, recklessly endangering safety, the felony, first degree, felony, dismissed. I don't know why. I don't have the reason, but somebody, it isn't going to be me. I guess if you all have an interest, you'll go back and start peeling back the layers to find out what happened. Sometimes this is no fault of the prosecutor. If you can't get, or she can't get, the witnesses to cooperate, I understand that. But that tells the individual who was involved in it that not much is going to happen, and they tend to repeat the behavior. That's how human behavior works. You punish unwanted behavior, you'll see less of it. You do nothing about unwanted behavior, you're going to see a repeat and more of it. It's got a bunch of drug arrests here. Robbery, use of force, no prosecution. I don't know why. I'm not going to blast the prosecutor's office at this point. However, somebody ought to go back and look and see why. There has to be a reason. That's called accountability. If the DA says, hey, we tried, the victims bailed on us, I get that. But if this is one of these second chance, deferred, those are the sorts of things I think that are having a detrimental effect to this community. The second guy, the guy who lived, who's in custody now, possession of a dangerous weapon under 18, dismissed. some drug dealing, 2-year probation, interlock system, time served, 12 days. It's pretty light sanctions. 2 counts of bail jumping, 2 years probation, time served, 45 days. Another possession of cocaine, probation violation. He's on probation. That means he's been given his chance. In one of these earlier arrests, he's been given his chance. Son, we're going to put you on probation. We're going to give you a chance. You got to walk the straight and narrow. He does not walk the straight and narrow. Gets arrested several times for probation violation. He gets time served 30 days, time served 45 days. It's why we continue to see the behavior repeated.
Fix the ghetto. That was a very eloquent and detailed response by Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark that we've been listening to, going through a litany of societal problems that have led to some of the unrest and violence that we have seen in the aftermath of some of these police shootings, pointing out that the suspect in this one in Milwaukee last night, 23-year-old Seville Smith, had a lengthy arrest record, 13 arrests, including some felony accounts, some that were dismissed, and the man that Seville Smith was with in that car when the shooting happened also has a lengthy arrest record and was on probation. The police officer involved in the shooting, we were told, African-American, and police certainly showing a great resolve as well as restraint. Last night, we were told earlier, they did not fire one shot. They did not use any force, yet the authorities said there were 48 shots fired in that crowd of people when they were rioting. And Arthel, you have to wonder that if there was a dead cop that we would be mourning right now, is if some of those folks who were out there in Milwaukee last night causing such destruction and damage, if they would show up at a vigil, a candlelight vigil for a police officer slain in the line of duty, as sad as any loss of life is. But clearly, Sheriff Clark just saying he cannot guarantee what can happen tonight. National Guard on standby, basically, not deployed, as sunset in Milwaukee is about 2.5 hours from now.
Parents who've had breakthroughs with their children to show that real hope exists for alienated families. This is Breakthroughs.
It's Ryan Thomas, and welcome to Breakthroughs. This is where we share real stories of alienated parents who've had breakthroughs with their children to show that real hope exists for alienated families. And on today's show, we're going to talk with Tony. And Tony was able to reunite with her 2 daughters after 4 years of complete silence. And you're going to learn exactly how she reunited, what she did, what she didn't do, the strategies that she used to reconnect with both of her daughters, and the advice that she wants to share with other parents as a result of her success. And Tony, it's so great to have you here. Thanks so much for sharing your story. Now, for a little background, Tony was alienated from her oldest daughter, who was in her late 20s, as well as eventually her youngest daughter, who was in her late teens, also with no contact. And Tony, you didn't even know the term parental alienation until a friend suggested it to you. You started doing some research. You stumbled upon my work. You eventually enrolled in my online training program called the Playbook on Parental Alienation, now called the Reconnect Formula, and started really delving into that. So what would you say was your first and most important step in beating parental alienation?
For me, it was about educating myself and understanding what role I played, because I didn't realise, and I guess they do such horrible, terrible things to you, and you respond to that as any normal person would. They'd be, you know, it's terrible, some of the stuff they do. It's so hurtful, but every time you react to it, it reinforces what they've been taught to believe about you. It reinforces this story about you, which couldn't be further from the truth, is usually a projection of the other person entirely.
And as you started to really understand what was happening to your children, as you educated yourself, what would you say was the #1 takeaway that ultimately led to the breakthrough that we're going to talk about in just a minute?
I stopped having expectations of an instant fix with the relationship. Like somehow I seem to think that if I just do this and they'll respond positively. I guess when it's built up in their mind like this, that's just not possible. they have so many entrenched issues. You can't just reconnect. And so my expectations changed, and the way I looked at them changed. And I think some of the things in your playbook, like sometimes you're so just wanting to express your love for your kids, and there's no way to do that. They've cut you off of their phone, and you're blocked on Facebook. The only communication I had left with my daughter was to write her a letter, and I couldn't write to her all the time. I didn't want to bombard her. I wanted to make really good use of the communications, and at an opportunity, like you'd said in your playbook, when they might be open to receiving it. So there were some key things like birthdays or Christmas, or just key opportunities that I wanted to capitalize on.
And you know, Toni, one of the things that I absolutely love about your story is how you dealt with the painful rejection that you felt. You know, with alienated parents, it takes such an emotional toll, a physical toll, that rejection. So share with everyone what you did to get yourself through that awful time.
I adopted this thing which someone told me once, to love yourself sick. And so I just did all this stuff to get myself in a healthy place emotionally. And I'd learn a lot about what the kids were going through. And I think the key to that learning, something just clicked in my head that as much as what the kids were doing to me, I felt was terrible, they were a victim in this whole thing. And I think when I grasped that, and that was really through all the learnings on the playbook and understanding it from a child's point of view, what they're going through, I wasn't angry with them anymore for the horrible things that they would do to me. I could just, and I had to spend a lot of time educating my own family, because my whole family, like my kids grew up with my mum as their grandma, my sister and her 4 kids, my brother. Our entire family was cut off. And they were angry and hurt. And, you know, all of a sudden I'm saying to them, you know, you need to understand that my kids are being emotionally abused. They are victims of all of this. This is what you're witnessing is not them and their genuine heartfelt desires towards you. They are a victim of abuse. And that's hard for people to grasp unless they really educate themselves on parental alienation.
And you ultimately believe that this played a role in bringing both of your children back to you.
I think there's something really in getting yourself in a healthy place, because then you've got something to offer the kids, and you're attractive to the kids when they're ready to come back.
Yep.
You don't have much to offer them when you're so broken. And that, I mean, it's terrible what it does. It does break you.
Yeah.
But you finding your own happiness, your kids are so attracted to that. And I can honestly say that now with my youngest daughter back in relationship with me, I know that she prefers to spend her time with me. And it's only been 5 months, and it's done a 180-degree turnaround. And for her, it took a long time she didn't want to admit that she might have been wrong, or she didn't want to seem disloyal, but you just sort of accept it and go with it, because anything to facilitate an open relationship, and what is it that they need? They don't want to feel guilty for what they've done. It'll just put a barrier there. So I think there's, you just take it on whatever level that they're able to give it at the time, and then it allows you to build on that.
Okay, so let's dive into what led to this series of breakthroughs that you had with your children. Now, up to this point, you have no contact with your oldest and your youngest daughter, and all of a sudden you find out that your oldest is getting married, and now there's a wedding that's going to happen. And of course, you find out that you're completely cut out of any of the wedding preparation. So you're not going to be looking at venues, you're not going to be looking at flowers, you're not going to be going dress shopping. All of those things that a mom and her daughter would typically do, not only are you cut out, but you also find out that her stepmom and the soon-to-be mother-in-law, that they're filling that role. And so this is like alienation in overdrive, because here's a milestone that you want, and you know you're not a part of this. You're not going to be a part of this. And to add even another layer of to this story, you had actually been planning and saving your own personal money for your daughter's wedding since she was 2 years old. It's something that was a tradition that had been passed on. So here you are saving all of this money, waiting for that day that this wedding happens, and you're planning it all, and you can say, here's all the money that you can put towards the wedding. But that didn't happen in your case. Tell us what happened with this money.
Through the course of our property settlement, one of the ways that my ex decided to punish me was to disperse, or to request the courts disperse this money to my girls at a time when they were full of hate towards me, and they would not acknowledge it or appreciate it. And in fact, he would get credit in their eyes for getting that from me for them.
Tony, so painful to listen to. I mean, that rejection, that all of your hopes and dreams just completely ruined. I mean, to be cut out at every turn. I know that we all feel that emotion, that sadness for you, and it would have been so easy for you to just lash out in that emotion and that anger and that frustration and disappointment, but you didn't lash out. So walk us through the strategy, because here's this potential pressure cooker of a wedding. What did you do? What was your strategy going into this wedding?
You know, I had listened to your playbook and about being the opposite, and I was trying to think, well, what is the story that's told about me? What are they perceiving about me as a person? And what do I need to show them? And for me, I just knew they think I brought drama. And because I would react to this terrible treatment of me, I'd be like, this is just appalling, and it was. But every reaction I gave them, they would go, see, she's ruined your day. Here's all the drama. Look what she's done. And it would just give them everything they wanted to be able to continue this story that I'm bad, everything about me is bad, I'm evil, So I just decided on this day that I was not going to react to any of that. I was going to go there and I would seize any opportunity that I was given to connect with my kids, that I would just take the low road. I'd be humble, and I just wouldn't be seen as this emotional drama queen, because that's not who I am anyway. But I tell you what, it was hard. It was really tough.
Yeah, so incredibly hard. I can't even imagine. So difficult. Well, stay with us, because when we come back, we're going to get into all the details of the wedding and learn exactly how Tony handled herself at multiple instances and how that had a huge payoff for reuniting with both of her daughters. More on that when we come back. Stay with us. We'll be right back on Breakthroughs.
Are you ready to take massive action and create your own step-by-step action plan to reconnect with your alienated child? You might be interested in checking out my 5-week online video training program, The Reconnect Formula. Discover what to say, what not to say, how to use email and text to communicate better, and how to use social media to influence your child even if you've been blocked. This is the culmination of my experiences as an alienated child who reunited to help you build the relationship with your child again and get one step closer to reconnecting. So go ahead, check out my 5-week online video training program, The Reconnect Formula. Do you wish you could understand your alienated child better and how they think? Alienated children are like puppets on a string. In my book, The Alienated Mind, I give a complete breakdown of how the parent is stripped of all influence and completely dehumanized in the mind of the child, and how the alienator can transform a loving child into someone who says and does hurtful, awful things. And I would know because I was that child. Understanding your alienated child better will help you reach them. The Alienated Mind, a new book and audiobook available now.
And welcome back to Breakthroughs. I'm Ryan Thomas. Today we're talking with Tony, who reunited with her 2 daughters after 4 years of silence. So Tony has this wedding to go to for her oldest child. The youngest child, she has no communication, but she's going to this wedding, this potential pressure cooker, but she's determined that she is going to be the opposite of what everybody expects from her, her daughter and everyone else, and she is going to come in here and she is going to make the day all about her daughter and not do anything to allow herself to be baited into the trap of causing any type of drama or scene or chaos at the wedding, which is of course what the story is against her and what everybody is expecting. So Tony, on this day, one of the first encounters that you have, you're going into this, you're prepared yourself, and one of the first encounters that you have is you're walking along the street outside of the venue and you run into your ex. What happens?
He piped up and said to me, "Oh, my daughter is just getting ready and she's just up there in the room. You feel free to go in and say hello." And I went, oh, okay. It was his permission giving, and part of me inside is going, how dare you give me permission? Like, this is my daughter. You know, you don't, who are you to tell me what I can do and not do with my, but on the other hand, I walked up the street and I'm thinking about this offer and I'm thinking, well, what will happen if I don't? I didn't want to go to that room. That room was, it would be like walking into a lion's den of Tony haters. But I knew if I didn't go, then the story would be, see, she didn't even come and see you on your wedding day. And I said to my partner, I'm going to go and I'm going to knock on that door and I'm going to see what happens. And he says, are you serious? And I went, yep, I'm going to do it. And I remember ringing that doorbell and my youngest daughter answered it and she heard my voice and she went, oh, well, and I said, oh, your dad and I just spoke in the street and he said to come and see you girls. Oh, well, I'll just have to talk to my other daughter. I'm not sure. She's in the shower. I'll have to let you know. And I said, that's okay. I'll wait. If it's a bad time, I can come back. It's fine. And so every time I would just try and bring down the level of anxiety. It's okay if you're busy, that's fine. You know, I was just walking past, your dad said to come and see you. So, and I did end up going into that room. I can tell you my anxiety was through the roof. I just tried to be as relaxed as I could by playing with my grandson, and I did silly things, like I got on all fours and played cards with him on the floor, and they felt as uncomfortable as I did, I can tell you. You know, they're having their hair and makeup done. There's, you know, here I am playing with my grandson on the floor, really as a way of distracting all the angst that was in the room. And then I've got the new partner. Oh, Tony, we're going to toast to Ashley here, and I'm on the floor on my hands, and here's a glass of champagne. You know, they just were so uncomfortable. And the hair and makeup people have said you can come back if you would like to have your makeup done. And you know, I just didn't want to be there any longer. And so you don't let them know that you're struggling. You don't let them know that that is the most uncomfortable, difficult situation that you could ever be put in. And I just said, oh, thank you so much, but I had a lot of trouble getting my hair appointment, and I did, and she changed her schedule for me, and I don't want to let her down. So, but thank you, you know. So, and what mother wouldn't want to be in the room with her daughter having her hair and makeup done on the day of her wedding? Of course you want to be there, but that's not your reality. And I left. I felt like I'd achieved what I needed to achieve. You know, I'd gone in there, I'd taken the opportunity that was presented, I didn't cause any dramas, I didn't allow any of that angst in the room to be an issue for her on her day, and I did make that whole day about her. I didn't want any bad memory on that day that I had contributed to in any way, shape or form.
I got to say, such amazing restraint in that story, but honestly, that's just the beginning. After the wedding happens, after the ceremony, then what happens next?
I remember coming out of the church, I could see that all the photography was, everyone was gathering together to have photographs, and I paused for a long time, and that opportunity wasn't presented to me. And I had to walk away before I lost it, you know. I just went, you know, I'm not going to have photos with my daughter on her wedding day as the mother of the bride. I just have to accept that, and that's okay. And I'm going to go to the pub and have a drink. And off I went with my entire family. And I just thought, no, I'm not going to hang around here and be punished any longer. I accept, okay, that's the state of affairs, that's fine. One day she might look back on that and regret that decision, but I can't change it, and that's how it is. And I'm just going to head off, have a drink, come back when I'm feeling in control again.
I mean, what amazing restraint during this gut-wrenching time. I mean, just really amazing stuff. Now, let's share one more example of something that made a huge difference at this wedding, and it really came at the reception, right? Your ex comes over to you and he says,
if you would like to give a speech, I could go and talk to the MC for you, and I could arrange that for you. And I'm sitting there thinking, and then he says, I know this would be a very hard day for you. Could you imagine my reaction? Everything inside of me wanted to say, a very hard day for me? You've made this exactly like this. This is exactly what you wanted. And, you know, it took every bit of energy not to jump across the table and smack him in the face, because I was so angry. I'm thinking, you've created this. This is exactly what you wanted. And I didn't also want to put him in a position of power over me, and I'd learned how to not succumb to people's control, and I wasn't going to give him that. But I'd written my speech, and this is the things I had to do to prepare. I'd written it and put it in a card, and I knew I wasn't going to get that opportunity, but I had things I wanted to share with her, as any mother would on their wedding day. So I tackled it my own way, and then of course I'm given 10 minutes to, what am I going to do? And I just said to him simply, oh, thank you very much. I said, I haven't been included on this day at all. So I got to say that. And I'll have a think about it, because I wouldn't want to give a speech if Ashley didn't want me to give a speech. And that's the other thing. I could have said yes to that because of my own desire to give a speech. But then that could have been turned around on me. Oh, see, she's forcing her way in here, and she's taking, you know, you didn't even ask her to do that. So I just thought, no, I'm not going to give you 1 ounce of opportunity to turn anything around onto me.
And so instead, you approach the DJ so that it can be your daughter's decision, again, drama-free. You approach the DJ and you say what?
Look, my ex has just asked if I would like to give a speech. I said, I don't want to give a speech if Ashley doesn't want me to give a speech. So when you go to introduce the bridal party, would you simply ask her before she comes in, would she like me to give a speech? And if she says yes, add me to the speech list. And if she says no, please make sure she knows that I'm okay with that. That's okay with me, that I'm happy either way, you know. So it takes a lot of humility, and I can tell you, when I got up there and gave that speech, the room went silent. A pin could have dropped. Everyone was like, oh, because it's so obvious what has been happening. And, you know, I did just share things that a loving parent would share about love and what it means to be treasured and valued and by a spouse, and how you grow together, all those sort of things. It wasn't this, it was a really heartfelt speech. And I know that that whole day, you know, and that remaining humble and true to myself, and just single-minded on the fact that I was not going to buy into any of the emotional barbs that get thrown your way, that I was just going to take every little opportunity that was given to me.
And you certainly did take every opportunity to do things, really, I think, in the best possible way that you could. Drama-free, you made it all about her. You literally did this perfectly. I couldn't be prouder of you.
It was those little things the things I could do, that I looked back on, and I was so proud of myself for not biting into the emotional crap that got dished my way, and just by not buying into it, by not having that story, everyone else can see. And this is the thing, like you feel like the whole world hates you, and quite frankly sometimes they do, but all of those people at that wedding could see by my behaviour that there was a huge injustice being done to me.
And this is what I love. When you were the opposite of what your daughter and everyone else expected you to be, it created a light bulb moment. It made them question how they thought about you because you didn't do what they all expected you to do. It made them start to question everything. And then you automatically kind of slowly start seeing the results and the improvements, the success of this. Tell us what happened the day after with your daughter.
Up to that point, she'd been building a house and she hadn't wanted me to know where that was. She'd wanted to keep that a secret in the same way that she'd wanted to exclude me from my grandson. They really were trying to cut me out of their life. And at the end there, she said to me, "Oh, Mum, do you have time to stay around?" She said, her partner and her would like to show me and my partner her house. And I just went, yeah, sure. Now, we didn't really have time, but you take the opportunity because it might not be coming back. So we stayed and she took us to her house. And that was a result of just staying true to that desire of not biting into anything. And I just wanted people to see me for the person I was and not for what they were being told.
Amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. And now you're on the path to start having a normal, loving relationship with this daughter. And I'm just so excited. But we also have to talk about your youngest daughter, because at this point, you still have no communication, no contact. I mean, you saw her at the wedding, but nothing really changed. So what happened after the wedding with your youngest daughter?
A week after that wedding, I went overseas and I was thinking about her, and I wrote her a card from overseas. And I still didn't hear back from her. And I used those questions that you had in your playbook. So when I would write to them, I would really think about where they were at and what my last communication was, and what question could I weave into my letter that might trigger some thought process for them, you know, just really thinking about where they were at with everything. The message I got back from her, which was at least a text message, I had not got any response to many letters, many gifts, all of my attempts, just nothing. But the text message I got was quite an angry one. After all you've done, and you did this to me and you did that to me, and I don't think there is any, after all of that, there is no role that you can play in my life. That's what I got. And you know, it is hard getting that, but I did remember in your playbook, I remembered that that was a positive because she responded, right? As much as that was really hard to read and it sort of made me believe there was no hope, that was more than I'd got before. And it obviously struck a nerve with her.
Absolutely. It's all about finding those milestones, getting just one step closer and ahead of where you are right now. So to some people, if they have no contact, just hearing even a nasty comment back is progress. If you get nasty comments, how do you try to move it into more positive interaction? So you played that perfectly. And so then you found out that your daughter was starting a new job. So you decided, you know what, I'm going to keep at this. I'm going to send her some flowers and a nice card with a positive message wishing her well. Tell us what happened as a result of that.
And I got a text back saying, thank you for the flowers, you know. And so then I just started little bit by little bit to have dialogue with her, but I didn't want to be over eager. And I know that sounds really silly, because the first thing you want to do when you connect with your kids after such a long time, 4 years is a long time, you're just so, you know, want more and more, and you're so excited, and you just and I remember going, okay, I think that's enough for today. I'm just going to call it off now and leave her wanting a bit more. And it sounds silly, it sounds like a little bit of a manipulation, but it's not. It's really just going, I don't want to lose any future opportunities.
I mean, that's so smart, Toni. Let it linger a little bit. Leave them wanting more. Let them process what just happened, right? So that they're thinking,
oh, that was a really positive interaction, and geez, I miss talking to my mum, and just allow her to feel those things and to So yeah, I just would cut the communication off so that it left her wanting more. And then all of a sudden, you know, I'd just throw out an invitation. Oh, what are you doing? I'm down the beach walking the dog. Would you like to join us? And she'd just turn around and say yes. And so I didn't bring up, oh, it's been 6 months since I've seen you, or it's been 4 years since we spoke. You know, I just as if it never even happened, I'd just throw out an invite. And if she said no, or if she was busy, I'd just, yeah, no worries, another time, there's always another time, you know. And she just started taking up almost every single opportunity.
And now you and your youngest daughter have an amazing relationship, a great relationship.
She said to me recently that she knew about 2 years ago she had started putting it together, but obviously she didn't feel that she could, she felt that loyalty. That was huge for her. She felt like I was the bad person in the marital breakdown, and her dad was the good person, and she felt she had to be loyal to him. And so it took a long time for her to just see things for herself, and then to have these positive interactions with me.
Yeah, that loyalty factor within an alienated child is so powerful, but it also really proves what I have always believed from my own experiences, is that your child is in there. Yes, they're manipulated and they're brainwashed, but deep inside they want to have that love and acceptance, and they want to have love and acceptance in their life. They are in there, which just goes to show with your situation, anything is possible.
All of those decisions paid dividends.
Toni, I'm just so happy for you, and thank you so much for sharing your story about reuniting with both of your children after 4 years. And as a final thought, what kind of takeaways can you give to other parents based on your experiences?
There is hope. Everybody, there is a level of hope, and everyone's story is different, and everyone's breakthrough happens at a different time, different set of circumstances. But you know, the only reason I ever put nice posts on our Reunite group is just to remind people there is always hope. There really, truly is.
Well, Toni, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story. I mean, hats off to you. You did everything you possibly could, and you got some amazing results to show for it. So thank you so much for sharing your story of being reunited with both of your daughters after 4 years of silence. And thank you for everyone joining me here on Breakthroughs. I hope that this story shows you and gives you some real hope that reuniting is possible. It doesn't matter how long it's been, how severe it's been. Anything is possible. Toni is living proof of it, and me and my dad reuniting is also living proof of it. So never give up. Always look to educate yourself more and find ways to reconnect with your children. I'm Ryan Thomas, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
Want specific advice from Ryan Thomas on how to handle your specific situation? Join Ryan's Reunite group coaching call and private Facebook community and get support and guidance from Ryan and others in a safe environment. Right now, for a limited time, you can join the Reunite group coaching calls and community for just $1 a month. And remember, you don't have to go it alone.
Gay Rights TV, where the truth continues.
There's something that I hope you'll understand, and I know you know, that the people inside family law and the child support enforcement people, they're not nice people. They really aren't. They're playing this part as if they are just doing their jobs. I know a whole group of people, a whole nation that just did their jobs and eradicated and attempted to eradicate a whole religion. I've got an idea for, you know, there's all this raging stuff about the Illuminati and conspiracies. There's big things that are happening, no doubt. But I got an idea for the Illuminati. Instead of killing off or sacrificing, rather, stars, people that are of notoriety, why don't you go after the child support enforcement people? They They're pure concentrated evil. You look at the number they work under, 666. That's already determined all over the world and throughout the ages as the mark of the beast. And that's the law they work under. So proudly, they gloat. They sit in their offices and gloat that they can write laws and orders, to protect their own monopolies. USC 42666, it's evil. It's a serial family killer. The Luminari ought to start using child support enforcement agencies for their sacrifices instead of using stars and notable people, because the child support enforcement people are far more pound for pound evil. I mean, my gosh, I caught felons by accident. And they could have done the right thing at any point in time. They had the power within their own agency. Either state, Colorado or Florida, either one of them had the authority to do it. And they purposely turned around and walked away. I'm going to be getting into this. I know I've talked about it, but I want to make sure that things are established and are ready, and that I have the capability myself to be able to do this. There is a need, a desperate need, for families to be heard as one crying voice. I understand in the past it was a situation of where everyone wanted to be the one who fixed it. We always took the attitude that we were just here for everyone else to have a voice to be able to speak. We're going to start a 24-hour broadcast very soon. Talking with the folks that did that for us before, and they're looking forward to doing it for us again, as well as television. So we'll figure this all out as we go along. Fortunately, we have the capability to be able to pull this off here in Colorado. My stroke has had a lot to do with this. It has brought me to a position that I could even do this again. So I don't know if that's a good thing. I guess we'll soon find out. It's I always considered my little stroke as something that God said to me, here's your epiphany. Now what are you going to do with it? So have been busy regaining myself. And I believe that K Rights is something that needs to be. Always. Be an opportunity for anybody to speak at any point in time. We're going to be getting up and going here on regular broadcast where you can call in just like you do on any regular show. You can call in here, you can call me at K Rights, and we'll set up to where we can do an interview with you, and you can tell your story. And please tell your story. That's what it is. Making a breakthrough is gathering a great accumulation of stories, creating a critical mass, to where the critical mass in itself pushes the lever to finding a new level of justice, to opening the Pandora's box, to revealing just how cruel and wicked these agencies are. How cruel and wicked family law is. It's incredible. I mean, why would anyone revel in the fact that they are hurting a citizen with the same rights as that person behind the desk that they are acting upon? Why they would want to act the way that they do and smile and laugh? It's the, let them eat cake syndrome. Not that Marie Antoinette was maybe not everything that they thought that she was, but we're not going there now. But it really is a cruel, cruel attitude they maintain, and they need to be stopped once and for all. We've found evidence within both the privatized child support enforcement agency construct and within the public child support agency construct. Actually, the most corruption was committed in the private agency, but the public agency has just danced around the pole, if you will, and tried to cover their own butts and not realize that they have a greater chance for real privatization and really getting these things straight if they would just yield to the fact that there needs to be changes and there needs to be corrections and there needs to be reviews and audits. You know, I had a situation, they're telling me I owe $47,425.25 to get my driver's license back after a 15-year suspension when the case was adjudicated a wrongful judgment, and come to find out I had a $2,405 credit. I mean, come on. I'm not the only one. I'm just the only one to have discovered to the depth that I have discovered and to have been able to get the documentation in my own hands. That's the key, is being able to get that documentation before they scrub it. And I've been able to do that. I have everything in PDF form. I will start laying this out. You know, it was all started with a fraud. It was all started with my ex-wife saying that for the whole time we had been married that actually we were single. And our divorce went through in the very same courtroom that they pulled the shenanigans with the child support and the driver's license suspension. Just years. I mean, they could have just looked at the dates of the divorce itself that went through their own courtroom, and they would have known that all the information that they were allowing into the court record was fraudulent. But they were clever that they thought, in that they altered the case number by 2 numbers, which made it almost impossible to find by searches, and they kept it hidden for 15 years. But it got discovered. It got discovered, and there's a whole lot more to be discovered. This just doesn't go on in one state. I can remember when we did an interview with some ladies with the friend of the court in Michigan during Mike Cox's reigns and Pay Kids. When we actually did an interview with them, a very good interview, until she discovered that I wasn't on her side. You know, and I was too polite in all of it. But that's the key. That is really the key. We are needing a critical mass again. That's really what we need. We need to build a critical mass of stories. Your story, anyone's stories, all the stories gathered together. It doesn't have to be here. It doesn't have to be anywhere. Someone call me and tell me that they have a place that they're doing this, and let me help broadcast this. And as time goes on, we'll see how big our broadcasts get. But, you know, let me know about it. If you've got a site out there that you want more people to know about, let me know. I'll be happy to put it up here for the whole time that I'm doing a video. No cost, no charge. Just, you know, tell me what the name is and I'll type it in and that'll be that. We're K-Rights. We always were about the non-custodial and the rights of the children to have both parents in their life. This parent alienation bourrage is absolutely insane. And parents that do that are sociopaths, and they should go to jail or seek such serious therapy on it that they are ruled by ankle bracelet by the court for a period of time until the alienation stops once and for all. And the alienation can be detected in the children. That's the key. Is you can detect alienation going on in the children because there are signs that show that certain love factors, certain care factors, certain concern factors that are natural in a child for a parent show deficient. And it begins to show signs of alienation. There's no reason, unless a parent has done something very wrong physically to a child, that any child should not love their parent. It's just absolutely ludicrous to even think this way. And there's many, many parents who know, many single mothers who know that what I'm saying is true, and they're on my side, and I thank you so much for being there. Many, many custodial parents, fathers that are on my side, they know what I'm talking about. And they know the lack of involvement by the other parent as well. And there needs to be an understanding there too, and I know that's hard. In many of these very contentious and emotional situations. But we are talking about the children and their future. That's really what we're talking about, and being able to correct it in the next generation. That's why this whole thing is set stagnant for 9 years. You know, I can remember a time when it was on the move, when there were changes being made. A fella named Stephen Baskerville, you know, wherever you are, Steve, God bless you, brother. You know, Wendy McElroy, Glenn Sachs, you know, Rob Peterson, Carol Rhodes, Carnell Smith, God bless and rest his soul. A lot of people out there that were doing very, very good things. Bob Batterby. You know, the ball can be moved again. And for whatever deficiencies I had in not being around for a while, I apologize. I'm sorry it couldn't be avoided. But it happened. And I had a chance to pull myself out. Derek Farnsworth. Had a chance to pull myself out. And, you know, Dave Ellison, and pull things together, you know. So we're going to be going on with more. I want everyone to just hang on. I know it's hard. That part I know is hard. Tom Petty once said that the waiting is the hardest part. It is. And let's get together. If there's not already a place, if there is a place, tell me about it so I can talk about it, and I will. And I'll give everybody full credit. I'm not looking for credit. I'm just looking to give everybody a voice. That's what I always have ever done. So, and I get to have some fun at it. So, you know, God bless all you guys for hanging in there, for being strong. I know it wasn't easy. I know it hasn't been easy. I know it's not easy. But God bless you. Strength to your heart, strength to all that you are, and strength to your children. You know, hang in there. We'll talk again. God bless you.